What's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. My name's Micah and it is a glorious day because the United States Postal Service decided that they weren't scared of the snow anymore and they delivered our grips for our bobber project. So we're gonna bust out our broomstick handlebars, throw those on, throw these on. I think our bobber is gonna be finished after that. So without further ado, let's rip into it, guys. Well, and so we'll scope out those new brooms. What in the world? So I guess instead of bubble wrap, now we just use USPS bags? Very strange. I've never seen this packaging method. One perfectly straight, 1-inch diameter broomstick handlebar. That's super awesome. We'll just set that on our bike there. Gosh, I can't contain myself. I have to look at it, so I'll let you look at it with me. Holy frickin' moly. That right there is gonna look bad to the bone on here. Wow. I just love broomstick bars. I don't know why, I don't know when I first got into them. No, I got into them because I put them on like a 97 Virago 750 just because they were like one of the cheapest options out there, and I like lower rise drag type bars. And I put them on and I just looked at them and I was like, wow, that's pretty rock and roll. That is gnarly, to say the least. So yeah, I'll be excited to see what it looks like when we get all the controls on them, when we get our grips on them, you know, all that stuff back together. And now to see what our long-awaited grips look like here. Well, it's not like we're gonna return them, so I'm just gonna shred into them. Hopefully they're the right size, otherwise we will have to return them. Oh yes, they are just as I remember. Those are them. So of course our throttle side has a throttle tube already in it. That's kind of why I like these. And then those chrome bar ends. Oh gosh. Wow, too cool. All right, let's get to it. So now, as far as the grip on the left side, your left hand grip, we're not gonna worry about that for now because we can put that on. There's no cables, nothing attached to that. But we are gonna have our throttle cables attached to this one. And so we are gonna put this one on first. So kind of the way I go about doing this is I will get this throttle with the new tube, the grip, inside of our control on the bike. And then I won't tighten down the handlebar, anything like that. I'll put the covers over our little factory risers, but I won't tighten them down because we're most likely going to need to slide this bar over in order to slide that grip on there. And then once we have the grip on there and positioned where we want, then we can slide the bar back into place. So, since we have kind of an unmarked broomstick bar that we don't exactly know where dead center is, I'm gonna put a measuring tape on there. I'm gonna find out where the dead center is, and I'm just gonna put a line with a Sharpie right there. So we know exactly where it should be positioned for our final adjustments, just so it's not sticking out too far on the right side or left side. It's about 32 1/4 or so. Let me get my trusty marker out here and we'll make a line right in the, we got a mark. Now, one thing I forgot that we're gonna have to do is on pretty much all of your Japanese cruisers, on your throttle side controls, you're gonna have just a little notch. You can see it right there. So that goes in a hole on the factory handlebars. So our broomstick bars, let me get you stood back up here. Our broomstick bars do not have a hole or a recession on them. So what I'm gonna do is I always get in there and I cut that off or I grind it off. Recently I've just been using like a little handheld hacksaw like this, and I kind of just come at it from one side and then I come at it from the other side, and just cut that little nub off. What you could also do is drill a hole in your new handlebars as well. I just think this goes so quick just to cut off that nub, and once you tighten these controls on that bar, they don't move. All that nub is there for is just a safety measure in case your controls ever loosened up, you know, as you were twisting your throttle, that your throttle could still function correctly even if your controls were loose on that bar. But we'll get them tightened up really nice. So I'm just gonna go in there and whack that off from either side, and then we can continue. All right, so we cut our little nub off of there. You can see that we just made a little cut there, took it right off. So you'll want to be careful if you're doing that like me with a hacksaw, but I've done it a couple times. I've kind of got good at it. The first one I did wasn't the greatest, but now that we've got that cut off, we can put our throttle in it. So now you might fight with this for a long time if you don't quite know the best way to do it, but let me show you a quick trick. It's gonna make this super easy. So I don't loosen the throttle cables on the carburetor, on the grip, nothing like that. I just get both of my cables kind of outside of my control here to where I can pinch them and grab them. I get my new throttle tube, and you'll just put in one side at a time here. All right, so we got in one side there. Now we'll just get in our other side. And you can use, I've used these grips with the throttle tube, even though it's a 2-cable tube. I've used them on bikes before that have just a 1-cable throttle, and they work just fine. But okay, so now we've got our grip hooked on there, that new grip and throttle tube, to our wires, but it's outside of the grip. So what I do here is kind of open up the grip a little bit, and you slip in one side at a time. Perfecto. Voila. Our new grip is in the controls and ready to be installed on the new bar. So we always pinch it together and give it a twist. Make sure that throttle snaps back, that we haven't pinched any wires. It certainly does. You can hear it just snap right back. So this is all ready to go on our handlebar. So kind of what I will do is put our screws back in this, just barely get them started so that this grip will hold itself together. I don't want it to come apart on me as we're kind of fitting it on there, as I'm trying to hold everything at once. A few threads on the other one, that's all we need. So we can kind of put this on our bar here. Slides right on. So now we're gonna tighten this 90% of the way. We're not gonna completely cinch it down to that bar, but about 90%. We still wanna be able to move it just a little bit. All right, so that is 90% tightened. We can still move it on the bar there, but it looks like it's completely clamped on. So now at this point, I'm gonna loosely put on the cap, the top for our factory risers. Turn my mark forward there so I'll be able to kind of see it through a gap in that riser. So for tightening these throttle side controls, what you're gonna wanna do is push it all the way in on the bar. Now if it's all the way in on the bar, you're gonna twist that throttle. Watch what happens. We twist our throttle open, it stays open. But if we let a little pressure off of it, it snaps shut. So what we're gonna wanna do is push our throttle all the way on that it can be, and then we're gonna move it just a millimeter back. And then that will ensure that our throttle always, you know, has free motion, can snap shut, it doesn't stay locked on. So we'll just push it all the way on, ease it off just a little bit. I think that's gonna be good. You know, this is just a couple screws. If we do need to adjust it, it's not a big deal. Those are super snug on there. So we'll kind of hold our bar in our controls. We'll snap the throttle. Yep, snaps right back. That is perfect. So now our bar is still loose on the riser there. We haven't tightened that up yet. And so that's what we will do right now. Now we can go about attaching the front brake here. Kind of loop this up through. Whoop. which it looks like this bike has been down here. As you can see, that lever's just bent a little bit, but it had those highway bars on it, and I saw a little rash on one of those pegs. That's kind of how you know somebody put her down. Judging by the rash on here, it was a pretty slow lay down. It looks like it was just a parking lot type thing, or maybe just in the garage. But there's those riders who have been down and the ones who will go down. And it's nothing against you. It's not like it's gonna be your fault. It's probably somebody who's just texting and driving, like 90% of the population. I'll sit on the bike and see if that's the right angle that I want for our brake lever. Ah, crap. All right, it's kind of 90% tight on there, so I'll sit on the bike. Oh man, this thing is feeling bad to the bone. But yes, that's exactly where I want the brake lever. Well, and so now that our handlebars are kind of secured on there, I'm gonna roll this bike to the middle of the garage. Wow, feeling pretty real now. I think I'm gonna need this little black plastic plug out of there because I'm unable, this clutch is kind of a one piece. It's not a two piece where it has a piece on the back that completely bolts on. It's just got one tensioner bolt there that kind of opens up that C a little bit. So I've got to pull this black plug out to get our clutch on here. There it goes. So now we can put that plug back in, and then we can slip on our controls here. Oh, if I can find the spot, there we go. Perfect. And then again, I'm gonna tighten these up about 90% here. We'll put our grip on, kind of see exactly where we want that, and then we can finish tightening these. Well, and so I actually took the clutch cable and then the choke cable out of a bracket that they were in that came off down lower, just lower of the triple tree. They were just at a really sharp angle, and so I was getting a little resistance in that clutch. And of course I don't want the choke slightly on at all times. So I just took those out of that little bracket that they were in so they could just be kind of looser, you know, at a little bit more softer curves. So now we can kind of slide those to where we want them to be. That looks like that might be enough space. I kind of always hold my grip up there and just roughly see. Well, so what I'm gonna do is take a little bit of soapy water and just kind of pour it on this grip here a little bit. Get it lubed up so that that grip can slide on there. So I can just kind of roughly see how everything's gonna look. And then of course we'll use some hairspray, grip adhesive, super glue, something to fasten that on. More often than not, I'll just use hairspray. You spray that bar, slide your grip on, then you wait overnight and that hairspray will just essentially turn into super glue on there. So it works as lube at first and then super glue to finish, but it's awesome. So, and then we got everything tightened down on the left side then. So our controls, our clutch, you know, our grip still doesn't have any adhesive on it, so it just kind of moves still. But we will adhesive that. Obviously, you want everything else squared away before you do that. But clutch pulls perfectly. Throttle snaps back. Wow. So, and one other thing I did was tuck a few wires. So this brake line that comes from the front reservoir here, instead of just looping kind of down here like it did, you know, I tucked it a little bit behind the headlight. There was a little wire harness here on the driver's side as well that I kind of tucked behind the headlight a little bit more. One on the left side I did that with. So they're really the only cables or wires that we have, you know, kind of visible and open here are just our two throttle cables and then our choke cable and our clutch cable. So those look tasteful. They're not terrible on there. I can deal with that as far as cables go. So now we're not done with this thing by any means, but I think we are. Let me roll it outside here so we can get a better look at it. Now this bike isn't clean by any means. We trailered it home in the middle of winter. The roads were terrible, dirt, salt, all that crap. We were wrenching on it, and so of course it got even dirtier. We have not cleaned it, but we can kind of get an idea of what we're gonna be riding. Holy cow. That is our freaking barer right there, folks. Oh my goodness. I think that is a beautiful motorcycle. Holy moly. Those broomstick bars, the rear profile, so mean. Wow. It is, yeah, that's kind of exactly what I was envisioning. This is exactly what I was hoping for. Oh, man. Yeah, wow. This is a mean machine, to say the least. Wow. That is just a road runner, a road racer. Kid in a candy store right now. Kid in a candy store. Holy cow. This is like the first time I'm seeing it as well, with the bars, the seat, everything's stripped off of it. Everything's done, like it is ready to roll down the road right now. We just gotta put some hairspray on that one left grip, but that is super awesome. So in the next video, we are going to polish this up. It's gonna look immaculate, like brand new. And then we're gonna do a review on it. I'm gonna see what I think. I have not ridden this bike. Like, it was the dead of winter. There was 10 inches of snow. I couldn't take it for a test drive. I started it. I put it in gear, I kind of let out the clutch, make sure everything was good, but I have not ridden this motorcycle, even in its stock form, so I have no idea what to expect, but could not be more pleased with our $140 worth of parts that we put on this thing. And of course, we're gonna make that back by selling the parts we took off. Well, so like the video if this helped you out, subscribe if you guys want to see more, and until next time, have a wonderful night.